Now at 10, one person hurt and several cars damaged in a suspected hit and run in Davenport. What police are saying about the early investigation.
And if the proposed Canadian Pacific train merger goes through, how would a big increase in train traffic impact wildlife in the area? We'll hear from officials at Nahant Marsh about their concerns.
Plus, a super-sized spotlight will soon shine on a family in Mercer County, why you might be able to spot them during the commercials on Super Bowl Sunday. The News at 10 starts now.
Live from the KWQC studio, this is TV6 News at 10.
Those stories and more in a moment, but first we start with the weather on this Thursday evening. Good evening to you. I'm Redrick Terry.
And I'm Sharon Derycke. We are joined by First Alert meteorologist Cyle Dickens, and we've had some rain and some snow earlier, and now the problem tonight sounds like cold temperatures and refreeze could be an issue.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Right now, we're doing okay. Smooth sailing across the Quad Cities right now. Take a look at the traffic cams outside. You can see no issues right now, but as we head it later into the night and as temperatures start to drop, that's when we could see some issues. And we'll back up here. Green right now across the whole map, I promise you. There's green there. But as the temperatures get down into the freezing level, that's when we're going to start to see some issues with some black ice. Right now, temperatures across the area, 34 up here, Galena, Dubuque, and 33 down in Clinton as we slide to the south. Same story here. Pretty consistent across the area, but we do have a good wind chill right now as we've got northwest winds wrapping around that area of low pressure that's pushed off. That was the culprit for all this activity. 25 is what it feels like right now. Princeton, 28 at the airport, 25 in Davenport, and 26 up in Galena. As we head throughout the night, we're going to be steadily dropping these temperatures. 34 at 10 p.m., but by 7 a.m. we're talking 21 degrees. And again, overnight, that's when we're going to start to see some issues with some black ice. So something you want to be careful out as you're heading out tomorrow morning. There could be patchy ice. We'll have the details and talk about a good warm-up coming up for your weekend. Straight ahead in your First Alert forecast.
All right, Kyle, now to developing news tonight. Police are investigating a suspected hit-and-run crash in Davenport that left a person hurt. Police say it happened just before 5:30 at Iowa and East Locust Streets. Witnesses told officers the direction the vehicle went, and they were able to make contact at Locust and Fillmore. The person hurt had minor injuries, and police are still investigating the crash. In Knox County, Marcy Oglesby's next court date has been set in her murder trial. She's accused in the death of former Mequon Police Chief Richard Young. Now, today at a status hearing, the judge decided there would be a motion hearing on February 15th. That is next Wednesday.
Police in Davenport arrested a 14-year-old after they say the student threatened staff and students at Sudlow Intermediate. According to Davenport police, they were arrested just before 9:30 this morning to the threat. Police determined no immediate threat. However, the suspected teenager was taken to the juvenile detention center. They face first-degree harassment charges. Well, conservation officials in the Quad Cities are speaking out against the potential multi-billion-dollar merger of Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern Railways. TV6's Hernan Gutierrez spoke with the executive director of Nahant Marsh about how more trains in the area could affect more than just wildlife up and down the Mississippi River. Hernan.
Sharon, the Surface Transportation Board is the federal body in charge of approving the potential merger. Their Office of Environmental Analysis found that the merger could nearly triple train traffic through the Iowa Quad Cities. It also found that increased rail traffic would, quote, not adversely affect water and wildlife. However, it did find noise and vibrations caused by the increase would adversely affect humans. The executive director of the Nahant Marsh says the noise caused by more trains alone could have negative consequences for the life in the wetlands.
And all these unique places that the railroad travels right through the heart of. We're not just worried about Nahant Marsh.
Only a row of bushes separates the Nahant Marsh from Canadian Pacific's Nahant Yard in Davenport. Executive Director Brian Ritter says more consistent noise brought on by longer and more frequent trains could wreak havoc on the nature preserve.
But even without honking the horns, trains are incredibly noisy, and that impacts wildlife, impacts the frogs that live here who are trying to call for mates in the spring. More difficult for that with birds.
In addition to noise, the Office of Environmental Analysis also found an increase in hazardous materials traveling on the rail network. Its environmental impact statement says about 29,000 hazmat carloads would pass through the marsh without a merger. If the STB approves it, that goes up to about 74,000 traveling through the segment by 2027, an increase of about 150%. Yet, the agency assesses the risk of a spill as very low. Ritter says that's not a risk he's willing to take.
If you get high amounts in a sudden spill and a high concentration of chemicals, it could really wipe out this ecosystem.
And it's not just the wildlife Ritter worries about, but visitors using the trails along the Mississippi too.
This sort of jeopardizes that and breaks our connectivity, not just here, but in downtown Davenport, where, you know, I grew up using the riverfront all the time, going to concerts and fishing and other things like that.
Now, there is a 30-day waiting period before the Surface Transportation Board can make a decision on the merger. The earliest that can happen is February 27th.
All right, thanks, Hernan. Now, Nahant Marsh covers 382 acres of wetlands in Davenport. Trails are open to the public from dawn until dusk.
As Super Bowl Sunday gets closer, a QCA family is set to star in one of the commercials during the game. TV6's Evan Denson stopped by the family's farm and spoke with them about the purpose behind that ad.
I just want to be able to be a voice for Illinois farmers and help bridge the gap between the farming industry and consumers.
Mercer County farmer Chad Bell and his family are set to appear in a Super Bowl commercial.
I guess my initial reaction was I was pretty surprised and also happy to be able to represent Illinois farmers.
The commercial was produced by Illinois Farm Families, a coalition of agricultural groups, and will launch the group's We Are the 96 campaign.
We Are the 96 basically describes that 96% of farms in Illinois are family owned and operated. So there's a perception that farms are run by corporations, and we wanted to set the record straight.
Both Bell and Lindsay Mitchell say the commercial can help strengthen the relationship between farmers and consumers.
And if we can prove to or show consumers that most of the farms that they see driving down the interstate are family farms, that we can hopefully bridge that gap between the farmers and consumers.
In general, it's becoming harder and harder to trust. Building a connection with people who are local and people who are families really just helps us feel a level of trust about our food that we can all feel comfortable with. And I mean, our farmers are interested in helping people understand how they're growing their food and where their food comes from.
Mitchell says the commercial is a chance to celebrate the hard work of farmers across Illinois.
As we talk as a whole society about, you know, celebrating each other's differences and different experiences, I think this is just another opportunity to learn about something different that happens in our state and about the families that are sort of empowering our food production.
For Bell, the idea of seeing his family on a Super Bowl commercial still has not sunk in.
Probably going to be an undescribable feeling.
In Mercer County, Evan Denton, TV6 News.
Pretty cool. The commercial set to run during the first half of the Super Bowl. Mitchell said there will be other commercials and innovative ways to showcase other Illinois farmers later this year.
Big news out of the Big 12 Conference. The University of Texas and Oklahoma University have negotiated to leave for the Southeastern Conference ahead of schedule. The two schools, who have shared a conference with Iowa State since the late 90s, reached an agreement to move to the Southeastern Conference in 2024. They were originally scheduled to leave in 2025. Up next, a follow-up to a TV6 investigation. Why a federal law often delays recalls for dangerous products by months or even years.
And we'll be dropped below freezing here after midnight. Could cause some issues on the roadways. We're going to have a cool down tomorrow, but we're going to warm right back up. We'll have the details coming up in your First Alert forecast.
You're watching TV6 News with Redrick Terry and Sharon Derycke.
Oh, that had moved in. It was a messy day. Thankfully, we've cleared out, but we could still see some after effects of that of the system tonight as we see temperatures drop below freezing and could cause some issues with black ice. That's going to be the main focus tonight. Cooler temperatures tomorrow. That's going to be the big headline for the day tomorrow. But quickly warming up as we head into the weekend, looking for a nice rebound and then a little bit more active as we head into the week next week as we introduce a couple systems. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Right now, 34 Princeton. Good evening, Rock Falls. 34 for you as well. Pretty consistent temperatures across the two-state right now. Once we factor in, we've got a nice northwesterly wind making things feel a little bit cooler. 28 is what it feels like right now, Moline and Kewanee. 24 in Galesburg, Rock Falls. and 25 Galena, and 26 is what it feels like right now up in Dubuque. Here's that storm system that caused all those issues this morning, last night into this morning and this afternoon. Really creating a mess up here in the New England states, pushing off and going to be out of the area, out of the states here. And with that, as that pushes off, we lose the cloud cover as we head into the night tonight. It's going to cause some issues, though, with temperatures. It's going to allow us to get a little bit cooler with that radiational cooling where we have no clouds, you have no blanket there, just lets all that heat escape. And again, it's going to allow that temperature to get down in the low 20s for tonight. But we move through, we start to change a little bit here. So we head into tomorrow, the winds are going to start to gradually change. Instead from the northwest, we'll start shifting to more southwesterly and help bring in some warm air, especially as we head into Saturday. The other big story is going to be what's coming in next week. We're going to be clear through the weekend. It's going to be a really nice weekend, actually. Something to certainly be thankful for. But looking ahead here next week, long-range models, again, these are going to change on the path. But right now, another big system moving into the Midwest here. And you can see it looks a lot similar to what we just saw here today, but kind of putting us in more of the warm side with more of rain chances. Hey, we'll take that, right? But again, expect this path to change a little bit, and it certainly will. And if it does shift a little bit further to the south, hey, we could be talking about another messy system come next week, something that we will certainly keep an eye on as we head into the weekend into next week. Now, the good news is temperature outlook here next 6 to 10 days does stay mild for us, above average, something that we will certainly invite here over the next 6 to 10 days. For tomorrow, we're going to talk about cooler temperatures and what we've been seeing, talking about low 30s, upper 20s in some spots. Heading to the south here, 34 is what the temperature is going to be tomorrow in Macomb, 32 in Kewanee, 34 Princeton. Here in the metro, we're going to get close to freezing at 32 degrees, mostly sunny skies as we head into the day. Now, for your weekend, again, it's going to be really nice. 41 Saturday, 45 on Sunday, mostly sunny skies. Again, as we head into next week, we're going to start to be active, and we'll take a look at the full forecast here after a 30-second break.
There's never been a better time to switch to Extreme. Call now and get $100 back on a 360 internet package starting as low as $34.99 a month for a year. Power up with speeds from 100 meg up to 1 gig. Supercharge every room with whole home Wi-Fi 360 Pro and keep all your devices connected with 99.99% network reliability. Get an Extreme 360 internet package and get $100 back when you call or shop online today. Call 844-EXTREME2 for details.
Valentine's Day looking pretty active here with some rain showers, 47 degrees, 50 degrees on Wednesday. We end those rain showers, but look at that cooling down as we get into Thursday and some snow chances possible.
How safe are the products in your home? Do you even know if there's a recall out there?
Yeah, that's the focus of a new report from a consumer watchdog group. National investigative reporter Carice Jackson spoke with the author of that report looking into a flawed system.
The stories of heartbreak.
But it wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident, and it could have been known, and Danny would be alive today.
Go on for years.
It is every mother's worst nightmare.
Now a new report by the U.S. Public Interest Research Education Fund, or PIRG, once again sheds light on the scope of this nationwide issue. Recalls on products from appliances to baby strollers, taking months or years from the time possible issues are reported.
For this information to be out there, to be in, with the government and with the companies, and nothing to be done for months or even years, it's awful.
Teresa Murray is a consumer watchdog for U.S. PIRG and authored the report. She analyzed 292 products recalled last year and 3,600 complaints to the CPSC about these items, finding these defective products remained on the market for months after the danger was first reported.
What surprised you the most about your findings?
What surprised me the most is how often there were people who were filing complaints, complaint after complaint after complaint, and it was a product that hadn't been recalled yet. And you would have dozens or hundreds of complaints that had been filed, and it takes so long to do an investigation. It takes so long for the product to get recalled.
For example, in a CPSC warning for a self-balancing electric skateboard, the government cited at least 4 reported deaths and multiple serious injuries, from brain injuries to paralysis. Despite the warning, the CPSC says the skateboard company refused to agree to an acceptable recall for all of the skateboards involved.
It's awful, and that's one of the rare cases where the CPSC is actually pursuing a recall without the company's permission. You know, which is kind of weird. It's like, well, gosh, if the regulators find that there's a problem, why wouldn't they be able to warn the public? And they can't, because the law doesn't allow them to.
The law she's referring to is sometimes called the gag rule by consumer advocates and some CPSC commissioners. By law, CPSC can't issue a recall without the manufacturer's consent.
We protect the public from a number of things. Are we able to fully do our job while the gag rule is in place? No, it is a limiting factor on what we're able to accomplish. I mean, we regulate 15,000 product categories, so we are doing a ton to protect people, but you're right. This stands in our way of being able to do better.
Manufacturers argue that if the government inappropriately warns the public about a potential problem and is later found to be incorrect, it can damage their company's reputation. But for mothers like Crystal Ellis, that's an excuse at the expense of her little boy, who died after he was entrapped in a dresser that tipped over on him, and has called for changes in recall notifications.
You're telling me that you knew how to get it into the homes of every single person, reach every single one of them to sell it, but you have no idea how to tell them again when you need it back. And therein lies the problem.
Murray hopes with this report and public awareness, Congress will be persuaded to act and give companies a sense of urgency to act when they know their products are defective.
If the companies would, do the responsible thing and take ownership of this sooner, then I think consumers would be better protected.
For Investigate TV, I'm Carice Jackman.
In a press release sent out following the CPSC's warning, Future Motion, the company that designs and assembles one-wheel electric skateboards in the U.S., issued a statement.
Yeah, that statement says, in part, one-wheel electric skateboards are safe when operated following common-sense safe riding practices that are common to any board sport. We strongly disagree with the CPSC's unjustified and alarmist claims, and we see no reason for their riders to stop using their boards. Now, our national investigative team did reach out for additional comment and is still waiting to hear back. Still ahead at 10, the growth of one girl sport in Iowa on Showcase, how high school wrestling is catching on with athletes and fans alike. High school girls wrestling has a bright future in Iowa, a point made somewhat obvious after the first state tournament sanctioned by the state.
Yeah, Chelsea Brown has a look at the major milestone organizers reached.
Extreme Arena hosted 3 days of championship events, starting with the first ever sanctioned girls state wrestling tournament.
I've been wrestling for 14 years now, so to finally have a girls state is really amazing because I've grown up wrestling boys. There's a lot more pink than I expected, but yeah, I think it's really cool that people from everywhere, we got people that I know from Illinois that are watching too online.
The arena hosted the first 2 girls state tournaments before the sport was sanctioned, but it never sold out until this year. The first day, 1,600 tickets were sold the day before the tournament, but overnight and the next morning, 2,700 more tickets were sold.
We had to kick cheerleaders out of their stands because there's so many people. It's great. That's why the wrestling community is the best thing ever.
Until you actually sanction it and then you put on the first event, it makes people's eyes open a little bit wider and go, whoa.
Finals day was a few hundred short of a sellout, but area organizers aren't worried about the tournament outgrowing the space.
They'll have to go to a couple different classes, and if not, we'll keep it up, and if it gets too big, maybe we'll just move it down the street into Carver.
Just as the sport has evolved, the competition continues to impress. For the first time, wrestlers had to qualify for the 448 participant field.
There was obviously a lot less matches this year because I didn't have a 124 person bracket or something, but it was still hard. I had some really good matches, after the first couple, and it's always fun competing with other girls.
Boys wrestling teams even got their first glimpse of Extreme Arena during the team duel tournament. The venue is contracted to host the girls' state wrestling tournament through the next 2 years. Something the arena strives to do for every event is put on a great show.
You could see when they were running through that little tunnel the huge smiles on their faces, and they knew that they were the center of the attention. And that's as they should be for a state tournament.
Still ahead in sports, it was a top 5 showdown for the Iowa women tonight with first place on the line. All the highlights from Indiana are straight ahead.
And now, TV6 Sports with Joey Donia.
Regular season games don't get much bigger than this. The 5th-ranked Iowa women at 2nd-ranked Indiana with first place on the line. It's the first top 5 showdown in the Big Ten in nearly 3 decades. To Bloomington we go, where, as you would expect, Assembly Hall was rocking. First quarter, if you give Caitlin Clark any room, she'll make you pay. Clark, Drano, give her all 3 of those. They were tied at the half at 39. We jump to the third quarter. It's Clark pushing the tempo. She makes it look so easy. Behind the back and then drains the pull-up for a long 2. She led all scorers with 35, but even Caitlin Clark is human. Clark's pass here stolen by Grace Berger, and she's taken it all the way. One of 18 turnovers on the night for Iowa. Berger led Indiana with 26 points. Hoosiers beat the Hawkeyes 87-78. The Iowa men on the road at number 1 Purdue. First half, Philip Rabracha getting the tough hoop to go down low. Iowa trailing by 11 though. Second half, Chris Murray, the pump fake in the corner. He drills it for 3 of his game high 24, but the number 1 team living up to the ranking, Zach Edey. Oh my gosh. Purdue gets the win, 87-73. Hawkeyes next game at Minnesota on Sunday at noon. To the scoreboard we go. The Illinois women winning on the road tonight over Nebraska, 72-64. Another year and another Western Big Six title for the Geneseo girls basketball team. 4 years ago, Geneseo joined the Western Big Six, and they've won a conference title every year since. The Maple Leafs looking to clinch the conference title outright with a win over Moline tonight. Let's head out to Wharton Fieldhouse for those highlights. And now here we go to Wharton Fieldhouse. The band rocking. And a good start here for Moline. Second half, Maple Leafs. Danielle Beach with the steal. She finds Annie Worth on the run. Maple Leafs up 14. Scott Harden's team far from done. A couple minutes later, Worth. Good job keeping the ball in. Then Allison Griffin, the touch on the baseline jumper. Geneseo up 18. And then it's Geneseo's defense setting up another break here. Mia Kelly with the steal. And she's taking it all the way. Geneseo wins it 65-38. The Maple Leafs are outright Western Big Six champs.
It means a lot. We had a lot of motivation coming to this game. We knew we had to work together to get it done, and that's what we did. Because at the beginning of the season, we really hadn't played much together, but towards the middle of the season, we started getting used to how each other played, and it just really flows really well now.
Really special. We've won every 4 years, and I think that's really special, and I think that's important to us, and having everyone come together and do this is really cool. We have a good lineup. We have people coming from younger grades, and I think that's important. We have good people, younger and older, that are coming and competing, and I think that's cool. We have a good next year's class that are really good, that are ready to step up to the plate too.
Holloman hosting United Township. Early on, the Pioneers' Claire Hulke getting the first bucket of the game, and it's a 3. Then UT going on a run. He looks interested. Kaylee Pena starting it off with a corner 3. Panthers up 2. Final minute of the quarter. It's Pena again from long range. That would extend the Panther lead to 7 after the first quarter. Second quarter. Annie Rouse. Open for three from the corner, and she drains it. Alleman wins a close one, 43-41. Rock Island hosting Quincy. First quarter. It's Rock Island freshman Kazaria Bell going to work. Stopping, popping, and getting it to go in the lane. Rock Island's first bucket of the game. It was senior night for the Rocks, and Kayla Rice getting buckets on her senior night. She drains the three from the corner, but too much from Quincy in this one. It's Taylor Foey draining it from the baseline. Blue Devils beat the Rocks 40-25. Let's cross the Mississippi for some MAC hoops. Assumption on the road to take on Bettendorf. Second quarter, it's Bettendorf senior Kayla Fountain. Strong take to the rack for the lay-in. Assumption would answer right back. Annika Katula driving baseline and weaving through the defense hoop and the harm. Assumption led by 10 at the half. Third quarter, the Knights keep things rolling. It's Jesse Wardlow with a dish inside to Ava Schubert. Nice move down low to get the bucket. Assumption gets the win, 52-43. And finally tonight, 4 days after not showing up for a home game against the Quad City Storm, the Vermilion County Bobcats announced the team is ceasing operations. The Storm had 3 games left on the remaining schedule against Vermilion County. The SPHL has altered scheduling for this weekend's games involving Vermilion County, and additional changes will be announced at a later date. That's it for sports. We'll be right back.
Going to be at freezing, getting below into the 20s, and again could cause some issues tonight overnight with some black ice, so be careful as you're heading out. We warm up into the low 30s tomorrow. It's going to be a cold one tomorrow, but then hey, warming up for the weekend, something we can all look forward to.
All right, thanks for joining us at 10.
Yeah, have a great night.